everybody. Welcome to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Taylor, joined by Ben Roy Taylor.
Bulu Bagar.
And George Brown.
Good afternoon.
I think you'll find, Mr. Benroy, that it's actually Ooga Booga. If you slow it down, I found a recording on SoundCloud. Apparently it's Ooga Booga. I've been living a lie for the last 20 odd years. But we thought we'd do a question pod because this week was rife with stuff from the Ubisoft Forward event to the Xbox Series S to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater just being the best thing in 2020 for the most part. So we put a question tweet out. We've got a handful of stuff that came in. First question from Jack Griffiths. With news of the Series S being weaker in RAM than the One X, do you think it could potentially harm games due to technical limitations? This is something that, Josh, you found before we started recording, that Games Radar did rounded up a couple of tweets from a member of Infinity Ward and a member of Remedy, talking about how every time we make the leap to the next generation, the last gen always hampers some part of that development. And I guess that idea of like the Series S, the next generation console, being inherently weaker the whole time, is that going to get in the way? Is that going to affect video game development? They call it like bottlenecking. Like at some point, you're always going to have to cater to that less powerful machine, when on the PlayStation side you could just aim straight at the PS5. What do you guys think of that? Like, that does seem like it would make sense, that you can't go totally all out regardless of what you're making.
Totally. I feel like there's always going to be an element of that. Like, we've always seen it in the past, every other generation so far. Because like you said, for the first few years, 2 or 3 years, developers have to accommodate, or for the most part, have to accommodate the older machines. You know what I mean? They have to scale down their projects in a way. It doesn't mean like the next gen stuff doesn't look good or isn't, a step up. It's just that they're not properly harnessing the power. Like, every single generation, we only properly see, I think, the proper power of these machines, like, fully realized at the very end, in the final year and the final 2 years or whatever. And I feel like this is going to be the same again, but that Xbox Series S is an added wrinkle, because when you have the Xbox version, you have to accommodate two drastically different machines, more or less. It's not just the differences between the Xbox and the PlayStation and then the PC. You've got like subdivisions now, you know what I mean? And I think ultimately across third parties, that certainly will see some games potentially hampered, or developers, more demanded to, under more stress to deliver different versions that can play on everything and play it well. But ultimately, for me, the games that always fulfill the potential of next gen are those first parties anyway. So we're only going to see these machines fully harnessed by those first party studios. And yes, that might have to be altered on the S, but I still don't think that means we're going to see deeply underpowered Xbox Series X games, because you will see flagship games come out for that machine and then scaled down versions of them, or maybe even ports of them for the Xbox Series S. You know what I mean?
Wonder how they do. I mean, because my example, when we did another news video on this, I think it was after the Series X was announced, my example of like downscaling something, quote unquote, to make it work on a less powerful machine is that they got The Witcher 3 working on Switch. And it's like that, it immediately has a big visual difference, but the actual like meat and potatoes of The Witcher is all there. I guess like, yeah, Ben, how do you feel? Do you think that it'll get in the way? Because the Xbox very much are trying to build this portfolio of first party stuff. Like, is that still going to be enough going forward?
I think it's totally worth it, because the price of that thing being £250 and $399, $299, sorry. Yeah. It's just worth it to get the masses in and get people buying Xboxes, and hopefully getting them all to sub to Game Pass at the same time. And I think it's also worth it to get people off the other gen. Like, say, the next 2 years, they said 2 years they're going to cater, at least Microsoft are going to cater towards people that aren't going to upgrade straight away. So this Xbox, for example, has gone from me going, oh, maybe I won't upgrade for a few years, to, oh, maybe I'll just buy it day one because it's £250. Right. And the Series S stands for Spencer. So my little Spencer's going to be sitting there, and I'm going to cuddle it at night and just can't wait for this thing.
You've had a Don box for years. You need to get yourself a little Spencer in.
Exactly.
We got a lot of questions about this, so there's little permutations. There's a lot of nuance in this. It is this massive bold step in on Microsoft's part, and the whole thing is fascinating in regards to how you approach the next generation of technology in a way that isn't rooted around exclusives. So we got another question from someone called Josh, who said, "Are Microsoft going to be developing, or Team Xbox rather, developing for the S and then scaling up to the X, or developing for the X and then scaling down to the S?" It's such a big leap between the two. I would assume if they do anything like at the minute, you tend to develop a lot of stuff on PC. you get the biggest high-end version of something going, unless you're a first-party dev, and then scale it down so it works on consoles. Hence why you get so much stuff that can potentially run so much smoother on PC. And it's just a case. I mean, that was the thing at the start of this generation, that these consoles were the thing holding back the industry, because it took forever to get games out that looked genuinely gorgeous. It wasn't until like 2015 or whatever, and there was there was so many mistakes. Assassin's Creed Unity or Watch Dogs or whatever. There's so many bugs and stuff at the start of the generation. What kind of approach do you think that they'll take?
I think it'll just be... Oh, sorry, Ben, right? Go ahead.
Classic Zoom chat. No, I was going to say that they're going to start up and go downwards, obviously, because that's, again, like we've heard, this is why Cyberpunk has been delayed, because the base Xbox One is apparently holding a lot of things back and struggling. But then at the same time, with the PlayStation, the older Xboxes don't seem to be making as much noise as the PlayStations. So my
PS4 is taken off.
I can never tell my actual original Xbox is dying when it's actually dying silently, whereas my PlayStation is hovering because of the fan. But yeah, I think they're just going to be developing up and move downwards. And like someone who's played on PCs before in my time, you just can switch it'd be so nice if we could just switch some of the sliders to compensate a bit more, even though people like that sort of like simplified console experience.
That's the thing that I think is going to be hard. Well, assumedly, because of whatever console you get, you put the disc in, it just works, to quote Mr. Todd Howard. But like, you don't want that situation where you're getting the same like version of the game and you have to tweak it to make it work on your system. I would have to assume that they take care of everything on their end, because for as much as they're trying to blur the lines between console gaming and PC gaming in terms of, like different systems and these different specs, and just I just want a game. Like that was the whole, for me, that was the whole appeal of going on console.
Aren't the sliders in the Switch version of Witcher, though? Didn't they just show you the sliders there?
Oh, God, yeah. There was a game that was on Switch where you could access like the debug menu and you could see what they changed to make that game work. Yeah, I think that was like it wasn't easily accessible, though. I think that was something you had to like punch in like some dev code thing, and then you could see exactly what they'd tweaked and changed to make that game work. But yeah, I'm curious how they do all that stuff on the dev side. A follow-up to the tweets that I mentioned before, the Infinity Ward and the Remedy people said that they haven't seen the full specs of the Series S yet. It was just the idea of having to develop for a weaker system going forward that would potentially hold them back. Dale Brown sent in, given the recent info drop on all things Xbox, Game Pass, and the fact that Game Pass has got EA Play being factored into it, how long do you think it'll take for Sony to respond? And what could they possibly do? What could they do to offer something of equal or greater value than the Series S plus Game Pass package to compete? I mean, this, for me, the thing is with this, I'm not as blown away by the price. It's all about the games. So like I can get Game Pass on my current Xbox. Like it's not a reason to upgrade for me, but I don't know if it is for you. Like Josh, have you found just in general that like this is swaying you in a way? Because for me, I'm still waiting for some big game that I can't play anywhere else.
Yeah, honestly, it is swaying me just because I've got such little willpower and I want two next-gen machines. But at the same time, I know in my head I should wait until I can afford the proper Xbox Series X so I can enjoy that console to its fullest. Otherwise, I feel like I'll get in this situation where I buy the S.
Will regret it.
I know, and then I'll regret it. A year will go by and I'll just be like, I'll end up buying the X anyway. And then have this other machine.
A week will go by.
Okay, 3 months will go by and I'll end up buying the other one and then regret everything in the entire world. But like for me, when it comes to Game Pass, like that is awesome. But it's not a reason for me to upgrade. But I do like the idea of them bringing other subscriptions under that banner. I love that you can pay a set amount a month to get the console, to get all of the subscriptions in it. Like that's £20
a month, right? And that will include Game Pass. So you're only really technically paying a tenner a month for 2 years for an S.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to get involved. It's just, let's do it.
Well, they've added, they folded EA Play into it. You get the xCloud stuff as well, so you can stream wherever you want on a phone and stuff. That stuff should all be live and working by November. The value proposition is absolutely insane. Like, not to downplay that. Like, you get so many great games. Like, it is phenomenal. I just think part of me hangs on to the idea of next gen should equal some sort of experience that you can't get on the current gen, and I know that's what they're going against. But until they put out more side-by-side comparisons of, this is what the Series S or the Series X automatically does to those games on Game Pass. Like they put out that footage of the original Gears of War running on SX, and that had like better lighting effects. They said they figured out how to add HDR to games that never had it before. I need to see way more of that stuff for me to go, okay, this is what next gen brings to this, as opposed to I'm paying more money to still play the same games in the same way, apart from they load faster. Like, it needs more.
I was just saying, I'm glad you're saying that, just because, like, I mean, I'm weak, and you just said Josh will just buy it as well because he's like,
I'm going to get it anyway. So yeah.
But like, for example, I have a controller that is dying, and to buy a new controller is £60. So I might as well just get a new I factor that price into as well. So then the Xbox is only £200. It's like crazy.
Or you could do it on a monthly thing.
You bet. Yes. Sorry, Josh, you was going to say.
I was just going to more or less say the same thing, Ben. Right? Yeah, at the minute, like I keep saying that theoretically I could plug in my Xbox One and enjoy Game Pass, but that's only in theory. As I've established so many times before on this podcast, the Xbox One's currently under the bed gathering dust. You know what I mean? Maybe if I get the Xbox Series S, if that's plugged in, I also need a new controller, Ben Royce. Then I get a new controller with it.
Exactly.
Then I have my dedicated Games Pass box. And if that does, retrofit all the games in a really interesting and dynamic way, if it does add HDR and all that stuff is really well implemented, then that might be enough to make me, jump in before they actually have those big marquee games come out.
I will throw in, we got another question. It's kind of the similar sort of question from Martin Fiorentini, who says, Microsoft with Game Pass is unquestionably the best option regarding value for money. How does Sony compete? Are they just going to rely on $70 first-party AAAs and not boost PS Now? Surely Microsoft will wipe the floor with them. Do they have anything up their sleeve, or is it too late? For me, the thing that they have up their sleeve and they've already started revealing is the exclusives. It's the old school approach to next gen. It's just, you need to buy the PS5 to play Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, the new Gran Turismo, whatever. That seems to be the thing. I guess that's the big question around next gen. Can you sell a system on like up-resing your legacy collection, or does it have to be next new games? But that was the thing that Dale Brown was asking as well. Like, what can Sony respond with? Do you think their response will be, we have exclusive games, we have the best AAA games, and that's it? Or do they start putting money into PS Now?
I think they've got to do something at the PS Now. And to tell you the truth, lads, there have been some rumors about what PS Now is going to morph into that have been going around for a while. Apparently, and again, this is completely baseless, but it is something that is rumored and it's popped up now and again, is that they're going to roll in the movie side of the PlayStation Store into PlayStation Now. So you pay for a subscription that gets you the games and also gets you access to a bunch of movies as well. So you get like the Netflix side of it all in one subscription, which could be a way to combat it, because I don't think genuinely, for as much as I do like PlayStation and enjoy their approach to PS5, I don't think they can go straight head to head with Microsoft on Games Pass. I don't think they have the infrastructure there to have all of those games just readily accessible, readily downloadable, readily up-resed and implemented with HDR and stuff. Not yet anyway. So I don't think they can fight them on that front. But if they roll in something else, like the movies, it would be something they can at least point to and say, look, this still is good value. We've still got this system. And then also we've got the exclusives and we're doing all the standard stuff that you expect.
I feel like if they'd done the R&D, the homework on like the CPU side or whatever, every time I try and go into CPU, GPU, flops, resolution rates, refresh rates, who cares? Whether they'd done the groundwork on making sure that you just get you access a game and it automatically makes it look fancy and new to keep it in the most basic console terms possible. If they'd done all that groundwork, they would have shut it off by now. Because as much as I want to see more from Xbox, I feel like the only example they have of that is the original Gears of War running on Series X with the HDR stuff on. I think the secret weapon is getting your PS3, getting your PS2 and getting your PS1 stuff, getting a bulk of that on there. Like, try and build up that legacy stuff, because publishers aren't just going to want to go, we're never going to pop a PS1 disc into a PS5, and you're never going to pop your PS1 disc of Glover into a PS5 and it's going to work. It's just not going to work. But hopefully, we used to have the classics. I bought a ton of those classics in the day, but hopefully they can move some of the stuff over there and have a bulk of legacy stuff like Nintendo used to have before. They just deleted it all and then keep starting every generation, and that will get us in. I do wonder if they'll do what Nintendo have done in terms of like limited access to stuff, because there's only so many classic titles they can bring back, remaster, re-release. Like Nintendo have started to go down almost like a Disney route with the Mario 35th anniversary thing of just being like, okay, this thing is available, but only for like 6 months, and then we take it away again. And that stuff is so anti-consumer and anti-collectors and whatever. But it is, quote unquote, a viable business model. It just sucks. Like there's the whole thing with Disney taking a lot of their titles off sale for a while, like Cinderella or whatever, and they put it back out a few months later. I wonder if they'll have to go down that route, because if they just do every PlayStation title ever is available for a monthly fee, what do they then do? They can't add stuff to it. They can't add PS1 games or anything to it. But I do think that would be incredibly valuable if they did do it.
I think you've got enough where you can just rotate through it. You know what I mean? Like even Games Pass, even though it happens slowly, they do take things on and off. You know what I mean? So you can. There's enough PlayStation games out there in the back catalog to not just dump them all on and be like, there you go, there's everything. Give us a $5 a month. Like you can rotate through stuff. And even though I really genuinely hate what Nintendo is doing with this stupid Mario thing. There's like obviously a version of that is still kind of pro-consumer to still kind of like cycle through a library of titles that you can download and jump into and look forward to it coming back, and it's not making you pay £60 to
it works as like consumer research too. Like it works to tell the publishers like, hey, everybody responded to this title, you should probably do a sequel. Ubisoft and Splinter Cell.
There is some symmetry though, because stuff like Resident Evil 7 came to PS Now and Game Pass the same day and date, and I imagine it will stay on there the same sort of period of time. So some publishers are doing both on both sides now, but it's obviously still a lot more longer in Game Pass at the moment and a lot more in Game Pass than there is PS Now.
Yeah, I mean the moves, the amount of money that Microsoft/Xbox must be throwing around to secure like Red Dead 2, starting GTA 5, like things like that just are just massive gets to get people on that service. Next question from Richard Flint, who says, will Beyond Good and Evil 2 ever come out, and what the hell does AAAA mean? Which is that weird new quadruple A designation for super deluxe games. Josh, you're pulling a face.
I'm pulling a face because the thing is, it's blown my mind that they're committing to it, properly committing to it, and not taking the mick out of it. Yeah. Because it is just the Spinal Tap thing of this amp goes to 11. Like, and it's just like, well, why not make it 10? Because this one goes to 11. This one goes to 4 years, and not 3 years. It's like, stop it. Things
it's
are
like what
confusing.
Devolver took the mick out of them for. Like, just it's like a Devolver press conference become real. Benro, what's your thoughts on the living scream that is the future of AAA game development? Or quadruple A.
Quadruple A is too much to say.
A little bit.
If I say quad A, okay, the only way they're getting around this is if Phil Spencer commits to that meme of him in Commando holding the quad barrel rocket launcher. And here's all my A's, and it just goes like that. But no, it's just like, if it just means bigger budget, then just say we're just spending more. But I think you don't need 4 A's. We don't even really use the 2 A's. Where was the last 1A game we've had? What's a 1A game? Where was the last
AAA game that didn't fall apart at the seams? Like there's occasionally the first party stuff will do pretty well. If you know, you class that, like God of War, class that as AAA. But the vast majority of third party triples fall apart. Like they have terrible launches, the servers are offline, the games require patching, day one patches, everything else. Like if we're going even bigger than that, then that's even further to fall for me. Like I would have zero faith that they would be able to hold them together.
I'm sure we've done videos like the games are too big. Like I think we all have this private conversation. Like, how can we get more than The Last of Us Part 2 or these other giant open world games? Like you feel like everything's breaking
so much detail,
and they're like, nah, let's get bigger.
if there's a way to push the envelope past Red Dead 2, Final Fantasy 7, and what was the Last of Us 2, then maybe. But I don't know what toll that takes on the humans designing that stuff, considering the horrific reports that came out of Rockstar and Naughty Dog. So yeah, next question. Actually, no, Josh, what do you think of the R thing in terms of where can they go? Like, where do you even go after you've done Red Dead 2, Last of Us 2?
Well, that's it. I think Red Dead 2 and Last of Us 2 are sort of, they're like, you know, like we said, like the peak of AAA. But I think anything after that, it's just got to be a gimmick. Like, where do you stop? Like, I don't know much about wrestling, so Ben Roy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that banter thing that Dave Meltzer did, where he went from 5 stars to a bunch of other stars, which I am fully for, from a crack perspective and for taking the mick. But when, you know, you got Phil Spencer and everyone genuinely, earnestly saying we're making a quadruple A game, it's like, what does that mean? That's just more marketing nonsense.
Yeah.
That
True
has
HD,
no
full
basis.
HD.
Yeah, that has no basis in what you're actually doing. Because what you're actually doing doesn't sound like you're doing anything different from the upper ends of AAA. It's just more confusing jargon that we have to sort of talk about.
There's no single A, so don't need more A's. And also, I think Richard asked about Beyond Good and Evil 2 as well. Yes. I think that's going to be an MMO live service thing, and you're going to get shoved in like 3 or 4 story quests, and you're going to pay for skins, and they're going to charge you out your ass.
Part of me believes that as well. I would hope not, but yeah, considering the amount of time it's been in development, although the people behind, those mandates at Ubisoft have now left, so maybe there's light on the horizon. Next question from JWT, who says, with the success critically and commercially of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster, he feels that will be able to get a remaster of 3 and 4. However, asking £40 for a game that takes around 4 to 6 hours to 100% is a bit much. Should the price be lowered for future Tony Hawk's remasters? I know this doesn't necessarily apply to you, Ben, right, because you've not been through it, but
it does,
in terms of a value proposition, yeah.
We had an argument about Resident Evil 3 quite a lot.
We did, yeah.
So, I mean, we can get back into that whole rope a dope.
Yeah, totally. Well, the thing with Tony Hawk's that I think is that length is elongated massively if you didn't play the originals, because if you have the muscle memory of those original titles, then, I mean, it didn't even take me 4 or 6 hours. That was like 2 hours. It was just blasting through it. Josh, you and I on the same, right? Like nigh on every level goal first time through. If you remember how to play those games, it just comes back to you immediately. Whereas if you haven't, getting 200,000 points or whatever will just take a lot longer. Totally. But still, it's completely valid. Like that is a long, at the absolute most, I don't think it's going to take you longer than 10 hours. And like £40 is a hell of a lot of money.
My thing with this is, right, Tony Hawk has always been, especially the Pro Skater Tony Hawk's, has always been a strange series because, yeah, you can blast straight through it. You can get all the objectives. You can quote-unquote 100% it. But in this version especially, you have... I've done all that. And in fact, now I've played more after I've completed it than I did actually in the campaign or whatever.
Right, like the multiplayer and stuff.
Yeah, and I've just scratched the surface of like the challenges. It has this robust challenge system for all of the different skaters, for all of the different levels, for all of the different tricks and stuff like that. And they're genuinely fun. It's not just like afterthoughts, because you do them and then you unlock boards, you unlock stuff for your skater and stuff. And it's been really engrossing to kind of engage with that system. So just because the core experience or whatever is over, like the game is far from done. It's almost like the core of getting the skate letters or getting the high scores or getting the hidden tapes. It's almost like that's just a tutorial for this game in my eyes, because once you've done all that, you have all of the tricks, you have all of the knowledge, you have an understanding of the layouts to then go in and like get the high scores and do the lines properly. And for me, that's where the bulk of the playtime comes from. So yeah, you might be able to complete it in 4, 5, 6 hours, but you haven't really completed it. You've just started to unlock a lot of the content that's in there. And I can totally see why you'd be averse to spending, $60 on that when, everything else is kind of player driven and you're self-driven to seek out these challenges, to seek out these high scores. But there's so much replayability in that, in just doing the tracks over and over and over again and running them through them again. That's always been core to that series, and I feel like that is so satisfying and so good and so rewarding that it's worth the price, because you could get 4 hours out of it, but you could get 40 hours out of it. You get 400 hours out of it. All
the challenge stuff is great. I mean, you can pin challenges, but they don't pin them to the screen. They pin them to and there's only so many that you can do. Like, that's so close to mastering that side of it. But it's that idea of the replayability being the thing that elongates or increases the value proposition. To address Resident Evil 3, Ben Roy, you got way more out of that game than I think we did, or I did especially, because I went through that once and just thought that felt like glorified DLC. Like, I wouldn't have said that was worth a premium price, but you could justify it based on the weapons you unlocked and rerunning it.
Yeah, I mean, again, with that game that with you, it's probably more adherent with playing Skate. I mean, not Skate, Tony Hawk. Just do me now. But Resident Evil. I'm one of those people that's going to play it through loads of times, go through Inferno mode, and try and get the S ranks. So for me, they're always a game. Like, I rerun them in a weird way and try and get the best I can out of them. So for me, I guess it's different. But I think Resident Evil 3 was it 60? Was it £60?
It was 50, because I remember asking you if it was worth £50, and you were like, "Yes, definitely." And then I just blitzed it.
So I think with if you're putting the remake title on it, I think remakes, I don't think should ever really be below 40 in a way. If it's a remaster, then that's like a £20 jobby sort of thing.
Right.
But if they're actually proper remaking it, I mean, like, for example, Tony Hawk, the soundtrack, you're not going to get the soundtrack in there if it's any lower than 40, because the royalties they're probably paying to people and stuff.
Plus, it's Activision; they're going to cash in.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the argument for it, but at the same time, I always thought, as for me, Tony Hawk is something that you just replay over and over again. You listen to the soundtrack, you sit there with mates, whatever. Can you play online with that one? I don't know. You play online with people and you run around the courses and just have a laugh, but not as Darth Maul.
Sadly not Darth Maul, only as a skeleton, an alien, or Jack Black. But I would say that there's more to it than that initial 4 to 6 hour thing. But maybe wait for a patch if they're going to add something like that. Being able to like add challenges to the screen, because they're so close to just giving it that perfect loop of just give me the endless challenges and I'll get through them. Next question from Greg from Finger Guns, who says, "Why won't they give us a new Splinter Cell?" I don't know, mate. I have no idea. No one seems to know anymore. His name's not even Sam Fisher anymore. He's just called Zero, and he's only exists in anime and as a NPC operator in Rainbow Six. So quick thoughts on Splinter Cell before we kill ourselves?
I'm sick of talking about Splinter Cell, Scott Tilford.
Same.
Sorry, Greg, but I feel like every single news video we do, we end up talking about Splinter Cell somehow. And we're like, how can they bring it back? And we're like, we don't know. Will they bring it back? Probably not. Will we even enjoy it if they did? Probably not.
The thing is, why was it on the Walmart leak from a couple of years ago? Every other game, I've said this so much, but everything, Rage 2, Borderlands 3,
Michael Ironside
wants to do it. All those games that were on that leak have now come out. Splinter Cell's the only one that hasn't, so something has to exist for it. But anyway, I'll go on.
It's going to be next gen, and my theory is it's going to be their version of the Phantom Pain. I'm calling it. It's just going to be Sam Fisher running around in the bushes, coming to a few little bases, saying hello. Either that, or he's just going to be locked into other games. For
if you took what Watch Dogs Legion is in terms of like you're sending the drones in, I mean Watch Dogs 2 was that as well, but like you're sending the drones in very tech focused. I feel like that's the DNA that they'll bring across to Splinter Cell. Like they'll give it the different branding. It'll be old man, bearded, angry Sam Fisher, but I just don't see them doing an old school mechanical Splinter Cell. I think they'll do like a weird open world thing that maybe borrows something from Hitman, but still is that weird Ubi formula. I just don't trust it, to be honest.
I don't see it coming. I'm sorry.
I do see it coming because it was on that leak. I just don't know why it was there if nothing is true. But we'll see. Next question from John, who says, how wild is it that the amount of hype that people are giving to next gen overall, when less than 2 months to launch, we haven't seen a single gameplay demo. I do like counter that a little bit and say that we've seen Miles Morales running it in like in engine. We've seen Ratchet and Clank with a good handful of demos. Very true on the Xbox side, sadly, other than they did to the Hellblade 2 stuff was in engine. But yeah, what do you guys think?
We saw Craig,
but I mean that was also running on PC, so it wasn't like a next gen build, potentially. Anyway, Josh, what do you think of this stuff?
Scott Tilford, I have had a breakdown to you privately multiple times about the lack of PlayStation 5 and Xbox news in general.
Texts at 1 a.m. from Josh Brown. I'm thinking about it again, mate.
I can't believe we're 2 months out, like they've just mentioned there. Yeah. And we know so little. We still don't know when the PlayStation's coming out. We don't know the PlayStation price. We've seen a handful of first trailers for the games.
All the launch games now are just on Xbox are just ones that were coming out a week later. That Ubisoft went, actually, just put that out a week forward. It's fine. Just put it out. It's fine. That'll do. That'll do.
Well, that's the thing as well. Even the third-party games, which we usually know about, there's been very little fanfare about it because obviously they always come out cross-gen. But I feel like very few of the publishers have gone, this is why you need to buy the next-gen version. And it's not just because you get it for free and it comes out a week later. Like, what are the exclusive features? Why is it better on the next-gen systems? I don't know, because they haven't even showed us it. I feel like Call of Duty Black Ops, Cold War, that's the only one where I feel like they've made this push of, the game is running on PlayStation 5. This is how it's going to play. These are the extra features and stuff. With everything else, it's just kind of like, yeah, it'll be up. Yeah, it might have a better frame rate. Yeah, you'll get it for free. Please come along. And then I feel like that's just the whole thing. It's like, please come along. Please buy my machine. Please buy my game. And
that's what I would apply to the Xbox side of things for the most part.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, man. Honestly, Sony's doing me headed now. He's absolutely getting on my last
At least they've got something at launch. Like they've got Miles Morales and Astro Bot, which is a bit more than what Xbox has.
I mean, they say they do, but they've not mentioned them since.
When are they coming out, though? When is launch? Why is Shuhei playing Fall Guys every bloody day? I don't care, mate. Why have we got this meanie bloody piece of crap PS5 gold thing?
Yeah, that was weird. Do you want a completely gold-plated PS5?
Yeah,
no, I want a release date,
to
be honest.
I mean, you could do one and then just at least tell me a date when you might announce a thing, and don't go to Tokyo Game Show and have nothing. Don't say anything.
It has to be that, right? Like it has to be that.
I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to bloody tweet anymore until like, sorry, it's coming out, because I was pretty much sure nothing was coming out this year until.
Well, there was maybe something this week, but it just didn't happen
until the Series S and all that started to get leaked. leaked, and thank God that was leaked. But I'm trying not to swear.
You'll get us kicked off YouTube. Josh, what was the thing you were going to say when you were freaking out?
I was just going to say, right, I don't want to come across like the entitled gamer that I am at heart, you know what I mean, demanding news, but I feel like sometimes they're just actively doing other announcements despite me. Usually, I love a week of PlayStation VR news, but not when you haven't talked about PlayStation in 3 months, you know what I mean?
That is patently insane. Like, they've said they're going to be a Tokyo Game Show, but nothing next gen. It's going to be a PSVR showcase. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? The Sam Fisher approach on the console level. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, it'll get announced. We'll get hyped. It'll sell. But there are like all those rumors about like they still get to tick the box of we're releasing in 2020. But the reality of the production is that it's going to be a limited amount of consoles this year and full production next year. Which I guess they get to have their cake and eat it too.
We've not even had the ability to say that we might want one yet. Only America has.
Well, you can pre-order, but you don't know what price you're paying. You're just doing you're just costing over like Amazon style, and they'll refund you the difference. Like, it's just
ridiculous.
It is a bit mad.
I want to consume.
I'd like to consume as well. Last question. A great name, Haley from Quarantine. With Crash Bandicoot 4 coming after a successful remake, will we be seeing more of the same going forward? Will the Tony Hawk remakes lead to a new Pro Skater game, or the Reignited trilogy a new Spyro? Are remakes the new way to reboot? Me and Benroy did this as our coverage on Crash 4 so far, but it's worth it as a talking point. Because for me, I love this. I love the idea of giving a new team access to old games. Go, okay, you guys remake this, learn all the lessons of game development, of the personalities that went into those original titles. In case of Crash 4, they got back in touch with someone from Naughty Dog, and then they have everything to go forward and go, okay, we know exactly how to do the next installment as best we can, rather than just Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 style, where they just announce it as part 5 and it's got nothing to do with it. But I do have faith if they went and did another Tony Hawk's now, they assumedly would nail it because they've completely nailed 1 and 2. I guess what's your general thoughts on this, that you kind of have to go through the overhaul remake thing first, but it does mean you get a better product, a newer product on the other side of it?
Sorry, Benroy. I thought I was so scared of talking over Benroy that I was like...
I thought I'd just throw it to the wind. I thought, you know what, Zoom, I don't care.
I've just been shouting for so long, I thought I'd let you speak, Josh.
Thank you, mate. Obviously been playing Tony Hawk's recently and really enjoying it, and enjoying the Crash remakes before then and the Spyro remakes before then. I think it's really, like you said, Scott, it's such a great way to get these developers to grips with what's so good about the franchise, get them, kind of tweaking the art style so it's homaging the originals, but very distinctly its own thing, and then letting them loose. Remakes and remasters are always going to have a use for testing the waters, I suppose, gauging if there's interest. And I do feel that's why we get a lot of them first. We get the NCS trilogy, we get Tony Hawk's, to see if people care, to see if people still give a crap about these titles. I'm sure that's what Ubisoft is doing with Prince of Persia. Whether it'll work, I don't know. But I think, especially with Activision, like, it's weird to have nothing but good things to say about Activision for once.
I know.
But I do think their remakes have been absolutely top tier. They've traded on that nostalgia, but not relied on it, because what they've put out is genuinely good and updated in really kind of fascinating and rewarded ways. And hopefully that's going to lead to proper continuations like Crash 4, which I've heard from you two is pretty much perfect.
It's pretty damn perfect.
So good,
you get to learn the lessons, you get to see what people like about your interpretation and what they don't, and then come out with a proper sequel and be like, oi, we're back.
Ben, do you like this general approach to sort of mining the old to fuel the new?
I do, because I probably would never have been interested in something Spyro again until they put those free Spyro games in front of me, and that really got me back. I went through Platinum and more. I was like, yes, give me more Spyro. I think it worked well for Crash, because I think the only reason we ever got Crash outside of the limbo that Sam Fisher's locked in at the moment is because the Insane Trilogy, sold. So maybe if anyone from Ubisoft ever considered putting out a Splinter Cell HD trilogy or something like that, and also again Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 have all had. I mean,
hey, you've had your remakes, mate, of Resident Evil, right?
And Gears of War. Gears of War 1 was like other people going, people like that Gears of War 1. Let's get on 4 and 5. Let's go. Let's keep going. Give me. I think it works. I think it's also in terms of like Resident Evil, it hasn't like caused them to make more. It's just reignited, like say, the horror side of that franchise. But in all seriousness, Crash and I keep saying Skate, Tony Hawk's and Spyro.
Skate's coming too, but not till next year or the year after.
I wonder what that's going to happen. It probably some sort of like, open world, climb up a skateboard. But yeah, I think I've been rambling for too long, sorry. But yes, I think it's exactly what they need to do. Remake stuff, let us play it, and then let us prove that we want it.
You make an extremely good point that if they just said, by the way, we're doing Crash 4, by the way, we're going to do another Spyro, it would, in Spyro's case, it would have gone the way of the Elijah Wood ones, or it would have gone the way of something that you just don't have that connection to. And in case of the Tony Hawk's ones, it's just brilliant. Do you guys have a pick for a Activision franchise that you'd want them to go to next time? For me, they've pretty much, like, this is the cream of the crop. Like, I was dying for a Crash Team Racing remaster, or remake rather, for the longest time until I got beat on a live stream and I didn't touch it again. But it was great until then. It was really good before then. But
Singularity.
I feel like we're the only three people who know what Singularity is, but like, at some point they might remember that was the last game that Raven did before they got swallowed by the Call of Duty.
Raven are doing the Call of Duty campaign at least, so at least Raven have been. At least Raven got out of the Sam Fisher prison. Not only Sam Fisher is in that prison on his own now. He's the only one left.
He's in the gulag from Warzone or whatever. But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below. The general state of the Ubisoft things that got shown, the state of next gen. Are you generally excited for the Series S, and how do you sort of feel the value proposition will roll out in regards to Game Pass and things like that? For now, this has been the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I've been your host, Scott Tilford, joined by Ben Roy Turner.
Give me a Glover remake.
And Josh Brown.
Goodbye.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.